in terms of the actual process, like I'm both an incredibly scattered writer and also one that gets super disciplined when it's time to producing the work. So I'm scattered in the sense that it takes me a really long time to like get something to gel and crystallize. And I'm basically about 7 years in between each book, or 5 to 7 years in between each book. Some people just do it much, much faster. I tend to like, do all these other things in the world, I guess. And because I'm a little bit, uh, uh, maybe I have some kind of ADHD or whatever, but like I'm still thinking about like the work. I'm still trying to like bring the story into my head. Like, I wrote the initial short story that became Beasts of No Nation when I was 14, and it took 7 years for it to crystallize, or for me to get into a position where I was ready to bring that narrative into like a full novel form. The book I wrote about HIV, the nonfiction book, I think it's, again, 2005 is when we sold that book, and it took 7 years for it to like really develop into something that like I was ready to say, okay, this is the statement that I'm ready to make, or I want to make, the story that I feel like telling about HIV, that I know how to tell, or that I'm privileged enough to tell. And then, my last book, Speak No Evil, is 6 years. I finished Our Kind of People in 2012, and it took me another 6 years to get Speak No Evil out, which was published in 2018. So there's a whole bunch of like foolishness that happens, and then all of a sudden I get extremely disciplined about writing like and finishing the novel, which is like, don't talk to me, don't speak to me. I don't want to hear you. I don't care who you are. I'm trying to write this book, right? And it's like almost going into that sort of tunnel space. I when I was finishing my last novel, we were on vacation as a family. And I remember my mom coming to me after I had finished like my edits, and she said something like, I like you a lot better when you're not writing books, because apparently like I'm just not like a very engaging, or like, like that sort of like, it's tough. Like you go into like a kind of a crazy state. And so that's like, in a long way, kind of the process. It's lots of creative sort of space. And then, what I would like to think of like really intense discipline, because in real fact, like telling any story, completing any story, or putting a story together that I think resonates with people. And this is whether you're doing it as a novelist, or any other kind of like story that you're trying to put out. The difference between somebody who is successful and who's not is really the discipline, and not necessarily the creativity.